Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Teresa. Thank you for joining me today. And once again, I'm going to be printing. I'm on a bit of a printing roll at the moment. I'm really enjoying using my gel plate. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to create multi-layered prints, such as this one here, in one go. Just one pull and you get all of this, rather than reapplying the paper and printing and printing and printing. Some people find it a little bit complicated. It's not complicated. As long as you just sort of have a slight bit of forethought, plan in advance what you want to do, and a few simple rules, it shouldn't go wrong at all. So I'm going to move this out of the way, get set up with my plate and my paint, and I shall be back again to show you how I did this. Today I'm going to be using my 5x7" gel plate. This is the Jelly Arts brand one, the 5x7 rectangle. It's a nice size, suitable for the stencil designs that I'm going to be using today. Wherever possible, I'm going to tell you at least the brand of the stencil. I don't necessarily know the names of them all, but if I know the brand of it, I will tell you. But you can use whatever you've got. Indeed, you can cut your own stencils from paper or lightweight card or something a bit more substantial like Tyvek. So experiment with what you've got, sort of following along with the basic rules that I'm going to try and put forward today. Now, the first layer that we're going to create on our plate is going to be our focal image. And for this, I'm going to use this bird stencil. This is Americana Decor. The number in the corner is 201606. I don't know what the name of it is, but obviously that code number there should take you to it. Or if you searched Americana Decor bird stencil. And I'm going to use this bottom design here with the bird on the branch with the flowers. Now I'm going to place that where I want it on my plate. Now bear in mind your finished print will be the reverse. So if you want your bird to be facing that way, you want to put it down this way. I'm putting it down this way and it will be facing the opposite direction. It doesn't always matter too much which way you do it. Obviously, bear in mind if you've got a stencil with words, which I may be using later today, make sure your words are down in reverse so that they're the right way round when they print. So position the stencil where you want it. And as you can see, the other design is overhanging a little bit. That's easily solved. Just going to take some post-it notes here. You can use post-it notes, some masking tape. Just covering that over there, and I've got a little strip exposed at the bottom. I don't want any paint on there, so this is just a piece of painter's tape. Just going to pop that on there just to mask off that design. All the paints I'm using today are Deco Art Americana brand, and I'm going to use lamp black for this first layer. I want this is my focal image, I want it to stand out. So I've popped a little paint on. This is just like a piece of acrylic. I use it as a palette. And using my small Ranger brayer, just going to brayer that out to a thinner layer so that I can apply it to the plate. And off to the side, as always, got a bit of paper, just cleaning my brayer off onto that. Now, you can leave that as it is. You can add a little texture. I'm going to use my trusty little piece of bubble wrap that I've got here, just to lightly press down onto where that bird is, just to add a bit of texture design to that bird area. And this is now where our patience is going to have to start to come in, because we're going to remove the stencil. And we need to allow that to dry before we add our next layer of paint. Now, depending on the temperature and how thick you've applied the plate, that will have some bearing on what your drying time is going to be. It doesn't take too long. It's acrylic paint. It's fairly fast drying. You could take this opportunity to go and wash your stencil and then come back again. Or, you can just sit and watch your paint dry if you want to. So I'll be back again in a moment when that's dry and we'll get on with the next layer. Once that first layer of paint is dry, we can move on to building the next layer. And my suggestion for this is to pick something with a fairly small design, because remember that whatever we're putting down is going to be in front of whatever comes next. So our focal image, our silhouette, that's going to be the foreground of our print. The next layer is going to be just slightly behind that. And we don't want to swamp small prints with big prints, if you understand what I mean. So I find it better to start with a smaller size stencil and gradually go to bigger designs. So this is one from joggles.com. It doesn't have, oh it does, this is number 33836. And this is just a nice sort of small all over design. And I think this will work perfectly for our next layer on our print. So not only am I going to work from a smaller design to a larger one, I'm also going to go from brighter colours through to slightly paler colours, simply because, again, bearing in mind we're working sort of in reverse order, and the brighter colours are going to work better over the paler colours. If I put a pale colour down now and then put a layer with a darker colour on top, there's a chance that that darker colour is going to show through and kind of overpower a bit. I know the acrylics have some opacity to them, but again, I'm finding better results working with a brighter colour now and going to paler colours as I work my way through. So I'm going to use again Americana paints. This is Sea Breeze and Bright Salmon. And I'm just going to apply these direct over here. Quite happy to do it with this. I didn't really want to do it on the silhouette because I wanted that, I didn't want there to be any sort of seepage through the stencil. Not quite so bothered with these background designs. So again, just applying a little bit of paint. I'm going to brayer this over the surface. Again, if I need to clean off my brayer, I'll just roll it onto my piece of paper that I've got at the side. And aim for a pretty good coverage there through that stencil. Once again, we need to remove this stencil and allow that layer to dry on the plate. So just like before, if you want to go and clean off, it shouldn't take too long. But again, I'll be back again when that's dry and we're ready for the next layer. Once your second layer is dry, we can move on to yet another layer. This time I'm using it's another Deco Art stencil. This is an Andy Skinner one. And the number, quite tricky to see there, is 201. Really don't know. 201606, I believe. But again, it's got words on it. So, you know, if you search Deco Art Andy Skinner, and this has got a whole load of words on. Now, as I said at the beginning, I need to put this face down so that my words are backwards, so that if they are readable when we print it, they will be the right way round. So I'm going to pop this down onto my plate, like so. And this time I'm going to be using Green Tree and Bright Orange paint. And like before, just going to dot a small amount directly on here. And use my brayer just to brayer that out into a thin layer. And as always, No prizes for guessing. We're going to take this stencil off and we're going to let that layer dry. And finally, I'm going to move on to our last stenciled layer. And for this, I'm going to be using, this is another DecoArt Americana Decor stencil. This is the big 12 by 12 one. And the number on this is 201505. And it's these large like scales and mermaid scales, fish scale design. And I'm going to pop that down on my plate like so. And the colours I'm going to use for this layer are cadmium yellow and poodle skirt pink. And just like before, I'm going to apply a few dots of paint. And brayer it over the surface to create a nice thin layer. And for the last time, remove the stencil and allow to dry. And then we'll be ready to put on a final layer of paint and pull our print. And finally, if you've made it this far, we're going to coat the entire surface of the plate with some paint. Now for this you want to choose either white or like an ivory or a very pale colour. I'm going to use this sea glass, which is a very pale green. Again, you don't want to use anything too dark. This is going to be the absolute sort of background of your print. So if you want white showing, you know, if you can see bits of the plate that are uncovered and you use white, you will see white space showing through. I don't particularly want there to be white space, so I'm using this very pale green, this sea glass. And again, just a very thin coat is all we need here. So applying few little dots of paint to the surface of my plate, and I'm going to brayer this all over to cover it. Be gentle, use light strokes. You don't really want to be lifting any of this dried paint, but you do need this to be covered. If you think you need a little bit more, then just pop a little bit more on. And I've got my piece of paper. This is just some mixed media paper from a sketchbook. And I've cut this to 8 by 6, so it's slightly bigger than my plate. And while that top layer of paint is wet, press down nice and evenly and firmly all over. And there's your finished multi-layered print. So I'm going to clean this out of the way, and I'll come back and I'll show you that and another one that I have done as well. And here's the finished print. I've just trimmed it down and matted onto some black card here. Now you could decide what you want to do with these. You could pop them in a frame. They'd make really nice piece of wall art. You could turn them into a greetings card. I'm going to pop these actually in my art journal. I think they'll fit quite nicely onto the page of my art journal. And here's one I did earlier using the other bird that was on that stencil. Instead of the bubble wrap, which we used to create some texture, I just pressed a piece of burlap into this one just to create a slightly different texture, and used a different selection of stencils. Same colour palette though. but just a different selection of stencils. Now you could leave these as they are. You could add something like the little Tim Holtz chit chat stickers here, the small talk stickers. One of these phrases, especially on the black, would probably look really, really nice on there. I'll decide when I come to pop it in my journal whether I'm going to finish that off with a word or not. But I hope that this has taken some of the mystery out of the printing for you. Yes, you can create similar effects by applying a stencil and pulling a print, applying another stencil, pulling another print, and continuing to print layer on layer. But there's something quite magical about being able to do this all in one go. And the sort of the mystery and the reveal at the end is really, really nice. And I'm going to say really that the basic rules to follow that work for me is to start with your darker and brighter colours. Start with the smaller stencil designs and gradually work your way through to paler and lighter colours and larger stencil designs. Also, bear in mind that whatever you're printing will be in reverse, so sort of decide on the orientation of your stencil if it makes a difference. Be sure to put words so that they're sort of the wrong way round on your plate, because they will be reversed and therefore the right way round when you come to print. But other than that, have fun, experiment, try different colour palettes, try different textures, and just really enjoy the process. But as always, if you enjoyed this, please leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out my other printing videos. I'll leave a link to the playlist in the end card. Lots of inspiration for you there, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.
I got an ache inside of me. It's a deep hole where I bleed. Oh, can I seal it? You're like an ocean without land, not a single grain of sand. I'm drifting on.